Today I have a special guest, Mr. Billy Watts,
Hey, best friends.
and we're going to talk to you about Zoom today. Um, just want to remind you, these sessions are recorded. At the end, I'll share a link for you to get our certificate, and you can find all the resources on the makeitwork.itcsforall.com weeklet. Morning, Sharon. Still people coming in. So I just want to review what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to first start with going over account settings and security. So how to set up your account. So make sure your meetings with students move smoothly, and nightly news events don't happen. We don't want
Yes.
those things to happen for sure. How to schedule a meeting. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the meeting features. And actually, I'm going to do one right now. And one of those features that you can do is a poll. So I'm going to launch this poll right now. Oh, wrong one. In poll. Launch this poll right now. So go ahead and answer if you have created your PWCS Zoom account. And then the last thing we'll talk about is like when we actually have these Zoom meetings with students, like what are we going to use that time to do? This is our face-to-face instruction time. So what's the best way to use it when, we're going to all be Zoomed out pretty quickly, and students are too. So like how's the best way to make those times with your students the most engaging for everyone? So a few more people just popping in. Go ahead and answer that poll on your screen. So poll's pretty cool. You can set it up beforehand in the panel, the Zoom panel, and you can launch it. This is a great entrance or exit ticket. And you can share your results after they come in. So I'm going to stop the poll, and then I'm going to share the results. So now you should be able to see the results right up on your screen. So we'll see that a few of you still have to create your PWCS account, but most of you have done it, so that's great. So I'm gonna actually hand it over to Billy right now, who's gonna start by talking about like setting up your account.
Boom. Magical. Trying to get rid of all those screens. Oh, now I have to figure out which screen I'm going to share. It's so hard. Sorry. All right. I think we're good, right? We're all good. We can see things.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
All
we're good.
right. All right, best friends. So let's talk about just setting up your account the first time. If some of you had said that it is your first time, you've never actually set up your PWCS account, or you probably created your PWCS account in the spring, and you still, once Zoom stopped giving away the free upgrade, you're now reverted back and you want all the great cool features. So to get started, that is really easy. We made a quick link for you, zoom.pwcsbackpack.com. That's our same link for students and for teachers. And then right here, you have a spot that says configure your account. You'll go through a whole process where you'll get an email from Jason Stevens, which will seem super sketchy and weird at first, but it's okay. He's a real guy. If you watch the school board meetings, he's the master behind all of the video sharing. And then you'll know you're configured when you get this PWCS in your profile. It's really important that you have the PWCS because, like Katie had mentioned, in order to avoid those nightly news stories, we're going to use Secure Classroom. So I'm going to go over just some of the settings that you're going to want to maybe turn on in your Zoom account. A lot of us are going to schedule our meetings maybe inside of Canvas, or we're going to schedule our meetings here inside of Zoom. We're going to have, once we figure out what our calendar is going to be, we're going to have these reoccurring meetings for, say, our English classes or our math classes or our science. And so we're going to go ahead and schedule those. But then we're also going to have these office hours that are probably going to be different than just our office hours that are for everybody, right? And then office hours that are for individual students. And so the best thing that we're recommending for office hours is using your personal meeting room. So like here in meetings, you have one, it's called personal meeting room. And you can actually, so I got to that right. I was in Zoom, just so we're all good. I hit sign in. It automatically took me to my profile page. And then I clicked on meetings and then personal meeting room. And so then you have all of this, right? Your personal meeting room, and then you have this invitation. And then you can go ahead and edit this meeting. And then when you edit this meeting, you can put a meeting password that's easy for people to remember. But we're going to talk in another section real fast about how your students don't really need a password if you use the embed password into browser link. And then you can choose your settings in here. The one that we really want to make sure you have turned on is enable waiting room. The enable waiting room just allows you to see who's joining your meeting. The other one we're recommending is on only authenticated users can join. And so it defaults to pwcs-edu and pwcs.edu. You can actually go in and edit and add another one. So we're a Google school, so I went ahead and added that in just for giggles. And then you can choose whether to record this meeting automatically. The good thing about setting up your meeting room is once you're done with that, you have this little copy invitation. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but this is the magical URL you're going to use as like a redirect tool in Canvas for your reoccurring office hours. So there's that. And then when we go down to settings, just some basic things that you're going to want to get started when you run. A lot of these are locked by the district, so that's kind of great. Like we don't have to worry, make the mistake of not turning on password. It's already been decided for us, but there are some decisions we can have. For example, waiting room. We can choose to make sure that we have waiting room turned on. We can make it for everybody or just users that are not in your account. And one of the things I noticed when Katie started this meeting is that Katie is the lead in this, and I'm kind of like her co-teacher. It was really helpful for me to be able to admit the people that are chiming in so that I could immediately be like, oh, let me admit that while she's talking so that she doesn't have to take on that. The other thing that I love about the waiting room is this right here. Customize your title, logo, and design. I'm sorry, and description. Now, logo, if you know anything about me, I love nerd graphics. Unfortunately, the logo is so itty-bitty that I can't even see it. But you can actually customize this message that will appear to people when they join your waiting room. So mine just says, thanks for stopping by. You'll be admitted shortly. But this is my money one right here. My virtual summer office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 12. I had some people joining over the weekend at like 1 in the morning, and you get an email when somebody joins your meeting room. And I turn to my wife and I go, someone's in my meeting room right now. It's 1 in the morning. No hate. But I was just like, that's some dedication. I'm not going to go admit them. But I felt okay not admitting them because it said right here, these are my office hours. So that's something I definitely recommend. You go ahead in your Zoom settings, set up your meeting room description. I'm sorry, your waiting room description.
I'm just going to jump in real quick, Billy.
Yeah.
Like this page of settings is long and exhaustive.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So we've created a Google Doc, which I just linked in the chat. That kind of is, yeah, and a Wakelet. But the Google Doc for each setting, we have a recommendation. Right. So some of them, we've said like, oh, really, that's up to the teacher. But some of them we've given you our best recommendation of what's going to make your classroom the most secure. So I would use this doc when setting up your settings.
And if for some reason you just like hearing my voice, there's a 9-minute YouTube video as well, but I wouldn't do that. This right here is, I think, very helpful for our students. Embed the password into the link because so many of our students will just struggle with that extra screen prompt. Then they have to type in the password with the proper upper or lowercase. We obviously have to, right, only authenticated users can join our meetings. That keeps us secure. And this is a personal preference, right? Host video, participant video. Some of us want all of our video off. Some of us want all of the video on for our students. That's a classroom management thing, and I think you'll figure that out as you get playing with it. Excuse me, but just wanting you to know that if you wanted, say, your video off, but all of their videos on, vice versa, you could do that. And then there's some couple other things here, some basic links. None of these are like groundbreaking, like, oh my God, you have to have these. This is one. I personally turn on chat. And then inside of the security settings when I'm hosting a meeting, I'll turn off the chat if I don't want attendees or students to chat while I'm giving a lesson. This is turned off, so you can't do that. It's auto-save chats. That's wonderful. It saves that as a TXT file. This is big. I made this mistake, and I remember messaging Katie and saying, so people keep joining my meeting, and I forget they're in the waiting room. So play the sound when someone joins your waiting room. If not, you'll be teaching and have no idea that 12 kids were waiting. Some of these things are okay. Co-host, if you're co-teaching with somebody, or if you're combining preps and saying that like both of these English teachers are going to join together and teach this class together, add them in as a co-host. Polling, like Katie just mentioned, is a great feature to turn on. All of these meeting settings you want to turn on before you actually launch your meeting because they won't take effect on a meeting that's currently going on. And we'll talk about screen sharing, but screen sharing is one that I turn on, but then again, the security lets me turn it off. Annotation, I think you have to know your students. Whiteboard, same thing, you got to know your students because this is a collaborative environment. And then this is a big one right here, remote control versus remote support. So I don't think at the teacher level we're really going to use remote support. Remote support allows us to control individual programs or allows us to turn on and off the computer. But remote control allows us to, somebody who is sharing their screen with us, to give us control of their computer to help that student navigate what we're asking them to do. This is nice if you feel like, thinking at the secondary level, so many kids will have their video turned off by default. But you can ask for nonverbal feedback, so like thumbs up, thumbs down, how are you feeling about this? Or click I need a break when you need me to stop talking. This one is interesting. I don't know how I feel about this one. Allow removed participants to rejoin. So in my setting as an instructional technology coach, I have that turned on. In the classroom, I don't know if I remove a student if I want them to be able to rejoin. They will be in the waiting room, so I guess I could leave them in the waiting room. But just thinking for behavior management, that's something to toggle and to decide for yourself. Breakout rooms. So here's the other thing. Breakout rooms I think are going to be amazing as we're doing remote support, that we can put students in breakout rooms, have them in smaller groups with their video on, and maybe at that secondary level they're more willing to turn their video on if there's only 3 or 4 friends. And then we can join that breakout room and help them in that small group. Comments like on our reading groups kind of ideas. Captions, interpretation, a lot of these things are turned off. Students have the ability to do virtual backgrounds. That's an equity issue. Not everybody wants the whole class to see what my room or my house looks like. And then I'm a nerd, so I love original sound, but that's just me. And then this is the other really, really big one. So show a join from browser link is a setting. And again, these are all in the Google Docs, but this is a really big one that you want to turn on because not all of our kids are going to have a device. Like if you have a Chromebook, you need to be able to join from your browser because you can't download the application. And so that's all some of the basic meeting settings that are in there. I'm going to stop sharing and pop back over to Katie.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Billy. Does anyone have questions for Billy? Feel free to turn your camera on, turn your mic on before we move forward.
Yeah, so original sound. David, original sound is if you're using, say, an external microphone. If you don't have original sound, you're letting Zoom be your audio mixer. And original sound is saying, well, I have, say, like a Blue Yeti, and so I want that original sound to be done. I'm going to let the microphone do the mixing.
Any other questions?
Yeah, remote control. So remote control is something you're going to want to turn on. I think definitely at the elementary level, and honestly probably even at the secondary level as well. And then remote control, the difference with remote control and remote support, with remote control, you can have breakout rooms as well as remote control because it's initiated by the person who's sharing. So like if Katie shares her screen, I can request control of that screen. And then if it's remote support, I can't have breakout rooms, but I can initiate control of someone else's screen. So again, I think that's more of a T-spec probably thing, and maybe us as ITCs. But from the teacher perspective, I think remote control is your default so that you can have breakout rooms.
Anyone else?
It's like having a one-sided conversation without the video and the audio. Right?
I know. Did I block them out of video and audio?
It's okay.
I don't think I did.
No.
Oh, okay.
Just processing.
I'm reading the chat and I feel like I'm having like an inner dialogue.
Okay,
All
here's
right.
here's my video briefly. Now it's off again. Saving bandwidth, that's my excuse.
Ah, we'll take that.
All right. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about scheduling a meeting. Again, you're going to go to pwcs-zoom or .gm-edu.zoom, the PWCS portal to get into Zoom. Like we said, like for your recurring office hours, you're going to want to just use that personal meeting link, and you're just going to want to provide that to students. But if you're going to be making a meeting just for a certain group of people, you're going to want to go to meetings and click on schedule new meeting. And you get to give it a title, you can give it a description, the date and time, how long it's going to be. And if it's a recurring meeting, like so something that's going to happen weekly, you will check the recurring meeting, and you can schedule that meeting to be daily, weekly, monthly, or no fixed time.
I'm gonna pop in there, Katie.
Yeah.
Can I pop in?
Yeah.
So one thing I found, when you hit daily, it also does it on Saturday and Sunday.
Ah, so maybe you
So
don't want to do, you probably want to do weekly and then check Monday,
then, yep.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Right.
Friday, so that people aren't expecting that they can see you on the weekend. Because we
Right, I'm
are,
just
if we
saying.
are remote at points, we're going to want to make sure those boundaries are there. Registration. So if you were maybe hosting a parent-student a parent event, this might be where you want to use registration. So wouldn't you agree, Billy, that that would be the use for that one?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
be really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, a password, which, you know, if we're working with students, we want to make it something easy for them to type, but we'll put that in the link. It will be in the combined link if you put that in your settings, so it really shouldn't be an issue. The video, again, how you want that to be initially when they come in, off or on, that's totally your preference. Audio, that's your preference. I would choose both because there might be some kids that do come in from a phone. So that'd be
Out to
important.
waltz.
Yeah. And then your meeting options. Some of these things you can see are grayed out. That's because that's defaulted by the admin. But again, like Billy talked about, enable the waiting room, authenticated users, breakouts. You can pre-assign a breakout room. So you can actually download a CSV template. So if I downloaded this template, it would tell me, you know, I put room 1 is one column in the student's name, 2, and it's actually the student's email address. So you can make a whole, you know, setup beforehand and upload it and create those breakout rooms beforehand. You can also do it while you're in the meeting on the fly, but if you have groups that you're setting up that you want students to work in, this would be what you want to make sure you use. And then you can also record the meeting automatically. I don't like doing that. I like starting the recording when I want to start the recording, but again, that's up to you. If you have a co-teacher, again, this is where you would put their email address and enable language interpretation. But I'm not really quite sure how that works. Do you have any idea yet, Billy? Have we seen that in action?
Yeah, so I really want to try that in the sense that, like, if I assign someone language interpretation, can they transcribe it in that native language? Like, thinking if we have a parent liaison that joins in one of our meetings.
Oh, right. I was wondering, so this wouldn't be for sign language at all?
No,
No.
wouldn't be
Okay.
for sign language.
So for if you had a sign language interpreter, you would just make them a co-host so that you could both
Yeah.
be seen. Yeah.
And I also think that with our students, teaching them how to pin a meeting, like how to like choose to say, I really want Miss Fielding's video to be here, or I really want so-and-so's video to be here because I need to see that interpretation.
A second way you might make a meeting is in Canvas. So in your Canvas classrooms, you're going to see a Zoom link now. Let's see. On the left-hand side. And so you can actually create a meeting in the same way, just within your classroom. And that would be a meeting for those students. Any tips on this from summer school, Billy?
Yeah, so one of the really nice things about scheduling a meeting inside of Zoom is when you schedule a meeting in Zoom, it also puts it in the Canvas. I'm sorry, you schedule a meeting in Canvas. Sorry, my brain, 2 words break, Brad. When you schedule a meeting in Canvas using Zoom, it also puts that meeting in the calendar so that the student and the parent are able to go right there and see when the upcoming meetings are coming in. So that's really, really nice. Now, the one thing that is currently a bug right now, and I don't know if anybody else has gotten this to work, is the cloud meetings. When you do schedule, like when you schedule your meeting and it's supposed to have a cloud meeting, It's
Cloud
supposed to pop,
recording.
sorry, cloud recording, thank you.
Yeah.
It's supposed to pop right inside there for the student and the parent to see, and currently it's not.
Yeah. So ideally after the meeting, they would be able to go here and look at all your recordings of your class. But for some reason, that's currently not working.
Yeah, we have
So
a ticket into Zoom on Zoom and Canvas trying to get this to work out.
any questions about setting a meeting up?
So just just set up a regular Zoom meeting. You're opening Zoom and signing in there, right?
Yep.
Because I went
Yep.
kind of crazy and I added add-ins to Chrome and I have all these different places I can go in and schedule Zoom, but it's a little different in each place.
It is.
So sounds like my best bet is to always just go to Zoom and sign in there.
That's how I like to do it. Yeah.
Okay,
Or from the
thanks.
app on the desktop app as well. I've also
Yeah.
Gotcha.
used. Yeah.
And the nice thing is if you do create a meeting in Canvas and you're using the desktop app, that scheduled meeting will pop up in the desktop app as well. So you can start it from either location.
Okay, thank you.
So everyone can see my whole screen and all my controls, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out a couple of the controls that you have as the host. So you can see that there's that polling button. Here's the remote control. So if I wanted to click that, I could assign it to Billy, and I'm going to give it to him. And now he has control of my screen.
I think so.
Yep.
It's a little
And so
slower,
he's
but
doing
yeah.
that. I'm not doing that. Yeah, it does lag a little bit, but still, if you were to do some of those, smart notebook activities, you could have kids go onto your screen and manipulate things, which could be really, really useful. And then I'm going to just abort control.
I was going to say, can
Take it away.
I was going to give it back to you.
I can also annotate on my screen. So I can add text. So if I wanted to say, click here, if I was showing a web page, that could be very helpful.
And then, am I correct, Katie, in that I believe you guys, if you click View Options up at the top, you can turn on Annotate? Does anybody want to try?
Yeah, can you click, there should be like View Options at the top of your screen.
And then click Annotate and see if you can draw on the screen as well. Somebody just drew a green mark. Yep, there we go. Yep.
Yeah, so that could be a win or a lose. Right. With your kids. So
but thinking if you did small breakout rooms, right, and then you did a screen share, you didn't necessarily want to give control, but you wanted kids to be able to draw. That would be an option as well.
For sure. You can also stamp things. So if you had like a vote, you wanted students to vote, they could vote on an option with the little stamp button. Spotlighting, let's see, here we go. You can see where my cursor is.
I think that's my favorite tool in the annotating.
Yeah, it will definitely be accessible, like help students with seeing things. I'm eraser, I can erase what you just did. I can undo, redo, and then of course draw. So the annotation tools can be really powerful. You can really think of this as like your new whiteboard. Anything else to add about that, Billy?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the teacher of students who get into trouble is immediately thinking of the 12 things that a kid could do, but I'm going to believe in the best, and maybe I'm going to use that more in a breakout room versus a big giant class.
Yeah. All right. You'll also see that there was that clear all, so you can really quickly clear all if something was to pop up onto the screen.
I can't remember. Is there a way to see who's annotating, or am I thinking of the all?
Clear viewers' drawings, so you can
Got it.
clear a specific person's drawings.
That's good, just in case.
Yeah. You can also save it for evidence if you need to.
Just in case.
Just in
Not
case.
that that's going to happen.
Yeah. Never. You could also disable certain attendees from annotating and show the names of the annotators. So if everyone wants to draw on the screen again, let's try that. And then I'll show the names of all the annotators. So you'll see, you know, as you're drawing, it says who's drawing really quickly. But
if you hover over them, does it pop up again?
Let's see. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No, unfortunately not.
What about on the disable attendee annotation?
I can, if I get that, let's see. Now you can't. Okay. So yeah, no one's drawing. Try and draw now. So I've just prevented everyone from drawing. So it's an all or nothing kind of deal.
Okay, I can go for that.
Yeah. For sharing a video, you're going to want to share the computer's sound. So that's at the beginning of this, when you came in the music, that's what I was doing. I can hide these meeting controls. So I made it visible. Actually, in my main settings, I wanted them visible today so that I could share them with you. But usually I have these turned off in my actual app settings. So when I go into my Zoom app, I would, I could change those settings. It's like in my screen share settings, the show Zoom window screen share. So that might be something you want to show students the very first time. Like if they're hosting a meeting, if you're training students on how to do Zoom meetings, these are some features you want to show them, but then you might want to turn it off for your future meetings. Like I don't want all those controls shown to everyone. And then you can go live on Facebook or YouTube. And we'll see how that goes in the future. But if you're having students, I probably wouldn't recommend either of those unless you had explicit permission of all of their parents.
Right. And we have 300 people that can attend our meetings.
Yes, we do. So that's pretty robust. Any questions about the features? No, we're good.
Yeah, so Allison, in reference to yours, right? Go through you can access Canvas by going first to the waffle and then clicking on it. I'm 100% on that. I just found that for some kids who would join me on a Zoom meeting, navigating to the waffle was still difficult for them. I would think for a lot of our kids, if they have a device, we're going to have them sign into the Zoom application. And so then when you do that, you can avoid the waffle altogether.
So I've got a question about the app. So I know some kids have devices from special ed, including my son. Will it have to go back to OSE to get the app, or will the schools be able to put Canvas and Zoom on their devices?
OSE should push those apps.
Yeah.
Remotely?
OSE. They should be able to remotely push those apps, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. And I know that they are kind of working on a list of apps that they're going to be pushing. So that should happen before September 8th.
Perfect.
Yeah. I already have my one kid who has an iPad. He has cerebral palsy, and he's already emailed me, I need these apps right now. And I emailed OSC, and I was like, they're like, we're working on it. I was like, but Caesar needs them. And because in past years, we've had a long delay.
Right.
Indeed.
And Caesar does not want to deal with that because we have been around the boat. So,
right. Understood.
Yeah. So any other questions about meeting settings or meeting features?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you
Yeah.
pin 2 videos at a time if you're screen sharing?
Yeah, that's
Like
what I was looking at too. Katie, can you screen share again?
Yeah. Sure. All right, I'm sharing.
Trying to find out where that little icon is, where the people pop up.
The people.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Carrie, when you click from gallery view to speaker view,
Yeah.
it looks like you can pin, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Can you pin 2?
Right.
No.
Okay. I figured if you were both co-hosts with that co-host, I didn't know if that I can only pin one of you is what I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was looking at too. Like I can pin myself, but I can't pin me and Katie. It just toggles back and forth. Okay.
Yeah, it goes to like whoever's speaking, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can pin a video so that video is always there for like sign language interpreting.
Right.
But if you wanted the interpreter and the teacher at the same time.
But what do you call that little panel? Just then when you screen shared, everybody was dropped into a little gallery view small box. I guess we could leave them as a gallery view small box, and then just will the host always stay in the top of the queue of all the students who come in? Will they always be the first 2?
It's usually the person who's talking. Yeah.
But so I think on the list of participants will always be at the top. Co-host.
Okay, so if the 2 hosts are always at top, that's basically like pinning if you keep the floating window above and the screen share full screen behind. Okay, thank you.
Something else that we've been talking about is you really need 2 monitors. So if you can, try and get your second monitor from your, your desktop at work if you had one, and they let you take it home, like I would totally recommend that. Billy will also recommend an AOC USB monitor, which He has
I will
made
put in the chat.
he should probably be making a commission on this because we've all bought them.
My favorite
I'm
monitor
using it
ever.
right now, but it is a game changer. I had 2 monitors in my office at school, and I came back here and for 3 months lived without 2 monitors and just my laptop, and finally I gave in. Like 2 monitor life, it's hard to go back.
It is.
So we just
Especially
wanted
when
to-
you're thinking of the sharing feature. I mean, that's right. When you're
Yeah.
sharing and then you want to be able to see the chat. So many
Yeah.
teachers have been like, I taught a whole lesson and I didn't see any of the questions that kids asked until I was done teaching.
Yep. So we wanted to feel free to turn your camera on, unmute yourself, and share what you think you might do during your Zooming time with students. You know, one thing I think is really great to do is Nearpod. You can lead those live lessons and actually have that classroom engagement through Nearpod. Can you link the monitor? Yes. Do you mean show it on the screen?
I put the link right in there.
Oh,
There you go.
link it. Gotcha. Yeah.
Speaking of Nearpod, I had a teacher who she did a whole class session with Nearpod, and then she realized that she was sharing her screen so the kids could see all of the answers because they were seeing the teacher side of the Nearpod. So just for a quick share, I'll share that just so you guys can see what we're talking about with that. So when you go to Nearpod and you sign in, assuming I'm signed in here, I should have already been signed in. Apologize for that.
It's also just a good lesson, you know, before you have your Zoom meetings, make sure everything's closed that you don't want anyone to see, you know, personal photos of your family, whatever it might be. Just make sure that unless it's work and it deals with the meeting you're in, close it. It's just.
Yeah. So like when you launch a live lesson, right, you could do this if you're doing Nearpod with your kids and they've signed into all that. And then right up here, you have the student view. So then you can switch to the student view. And then on another screen, you can, if you had 2 monitors in a dream world, or if you had like an iPad or something, you could launch that same lesson again so that then you could, whenever it loads, you can then see on one side your screen while then toggling through. Sorry, this is a digital citizenship lesson for Vertigo. And then, so then you can toggle through all that stuff so that when you ask a question, the question pops up here on the screen. So especially if you're familiar with Nearpod and the show your work feature, you can actually model how to show your work while also seeing all the kids' answers on this side. So just speaking for Nearpod.
All right, so I'm actually gonna, because we try and keep these to 30 minutes, pop the get your certificate link in the chat. But if you want to stay and talk about ways and things you might do during that time, please stay. But otherwise, thanks for coming and have a great Monday.
Yeah. Katie, have you played with that? How to do the sharing the iPad feature?
Oh, sharing on your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I mean.
with AirPlay, right?
It just lets you share your, I have an iPad Pro though, so it might be different than another iPad.
I wanted to play with like different iPads on different like PCs versus Macs and see like, is there certain things that you have to download or install in order to enable that mirroring feature to work?
And I actually haven't screen shared with Zoom on my iPad, just Google Meet.
Yeah.
Which I don't really like to do because it's hard to go between windows. Harder. Yeah. So some other things, obviously you want to spend your time really engaging your students when you're meeting with them. This isn't the time for you to do like a 40-minute lecture.
Right.
It's when we're, you know, remote teaching, everything should really be like anything direct, videos or in-person direction should be like 5 to 10 minute chunks before you letting other people talk. And it's hard for some of us, you know, those sage on the stage teachers, but it is like definitely something in a remote setting you have to change up.
I think the breakout room would really help us train our teaching strategies to be able to do that. If we think, okay, I'm going to do a session for, you know, a 10-minute lecture, and then I'm going to have breakout rooms, and I'm going to put everybody randomly into certain groups, and then you've got 3 minutes to talk about it and work. It is the best possible way, allows us to still have that classroom-like experience where we could pop in on each individual breakout room. And it allows you to get a drink of water or take a breather, wipe your face.
Go to the restroom, take care of your kids.
Something, right?
Any other ideas for what you might do or what you're thinking of how you're spending your time?
Yeah, I used Kahoot some in the spring, which I think if I get a second monitor, it would make it a lot easier. It was really hard to kind of monitor and keep it working for me. They loved it, but it was hard for me to keep up with. But I think with the second monitor, it would work really well. But the kids, at least elementary kids, love Kahoot.
Yeah, the second monitor really allows you to manage your content that you're going to be presenting, you know, without them seeing it or having to keep going from shared to not shared. So if you just share one screen, you can drag things over, and yeah, it makes the experience more seamless.
I think so many of us that used the extend mode on our smart boards, it makes it feel like we have extend again. Like, oh, sweet, this is where my lesson is, and this is where my email is. It makes me feel like I'm back at school almost. Will a second monitor work with a Chromebook? I'm like 99% certain, but I want to go grab a Chromebook today and try it out for you, Melissa. But I'm pretty certain it will. Ooh, an AOC monitor on the PWCS contract. I would like to, maybe we'll talk to Daily and see if they could add that in as one of the options.
Ooh.
AOC is a Chinese company or Taiwan company. I can't remember.
It is not the congresswoman.
No, it's not.
She is not making money on these monitors, I don't think. But I mean, I wouldn't blame her if she was.
Yeah,
I keep telling my teachers I kept telling them in the spring, take a monitor out of the computer lab. If you want one, I'll get you one. And they're like, no, I'm fine. I mean, some of them were using their home computer as a second computer monitor.
you could super nerd out and just connect your TV, but.
I'm just going to stop the recording for length purposes.